A lot of people think that reinventing and rebranding your life is just a matter of setting some goals and getting to work on achieving those. I think that's what most people do when they're looking to make a change in their lives, but that is really a surface level solution to a more deep level transformation that a lot of people are looking for. People who truly make change in their lives are not just setting resolutions or doing up vision boards or adopting some influencer's morning routine. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what to do in order to really make change in your life, to reinvent yourself and rebrand your life. I'm going to share with you 4 secrets to help you rebrand your life. The first reason that a lot of people fail to level up in their lives or reinvent themselves is because they focus on doing things rather than what they are becoming or what they need to become in order to be that new reinvented version of themselves. They will set goals, do up the vision boards, buy a new planner, because that is a whole industry, but that is all very, very surface level. It's the equivalent of putting paint on a rusty vehicle. Sure, it might look good initially, but at some point that rust is going to come back through and that new paint job of yours is going to fade away. If you only change your habits but fail to change who you see yourself as or the beliefs that you have about yourself, you aren't going to make lasting change. At some point, you are just going to fall back to that old identity, to kind of your default mode. And that's actually why so many people will set resolutions January 1st, but by March, a large majority of those people have not stuck to their resolutions at all. Within less than 3 months, they have fallen off. And that is because it is very natural for us to just fall back into, like I said, our default mode and that hard set identity that we have about ourselves. I personally have struggled with this for a very long time. I have had moments where I've gone back in past journals, just curious to see where I was at a year, 2 years ago, and ended up becoming very upset because the journal entries from 1 or 2 years ago could have been written yesterday. I had had little to no change in that space of time, which was very discouraging. And yes, I had set goals. I had very good intentions about making changes in my life, but none of them came to be in real life because, again, I have this very stuck in the mud view of myself. My beliefs are the exact same as they were 2 years ago, and as a result, I might have made some change, but at the end of the day, I'm always getting slingshotted back to the person that I am. And there's all sorts of versions of this, right? You might say, I'm not a fitness girly, or I'm not a morning person, but those are just the current beliefs that you have about yourself. If you want to get into fitness or you want to be an early riser, you are going to have to do the work to change those underlying beliefs about yourself. I don't believe in deluding yourself or brainwashing yourself into saying, I am a fitness girly if you don't like fitness, but you could slowly start to say, I am becoming a fitness girly, becoming a fitness girly until one day you wake up and you are a fitness girly. Don't get me wrong, this definitely does not happen overnight. The current beliefs that you have about yourself were not formed in a short period of time. It's going to take a lot of time to get rid of those old beliefs and replace them with new ones. But that is the key to reinventing yourself. You need to change the beliefs that you have about yourself. So I encourage you to take some time based on the goals that you have. Ask yourself what beliefs you have about yourself that are not in line with those goals, and start to do the work to changing those beliefs into ones that are in line with the goals that you would like to achieve. And that kind of leads into secret number 2, which is getting rid of that old identity. So if we go to, I guess, something personal for me, I've been dealing with infertility since 2018. Please pray for us that that ends very soon. And during that time, it's, especially when it's gone on as long as it has, you start to develop this identity that you're just someone who deals with infertility. You are this infertile person. You start to develop that belief because that's been the case for several years. But obviously, having that belief is not in line with my goal of maybe not conceiving, but at the very least, just being a healthy individual. I need to shake off that old identity of being someone who struggles with infertility and ask myself, what is my new identity? I want my new identity to be that I am a healthy person who does all that she can within reason to become as healthy as possible. When I am healthy, I will also, as a default, be as fertile as I am possibly able to be. And then once you've identified that new identity that you want to embody, it's time to start acting as if, or I know some people like to adopt kind of like an alter ego. I think the classic example is Beyonce. She identifies as Sasha Fierce. And it's just this like very girl boss, high intensity performer, the persona that she adopts when she's on stage. What could be your alter ego? So if fitness is something that you want to incorporate more of into your life, what is your fitness girly alter ego? And I think the more often or more consistent you are with putting on that alter ego, the more it starts to feel like it's just part of you. That's who you are. So for me right now with the infertility piece, it's hard to imagine not having some of the issues that we've had. But I think if I can slowly just say, my alter ego is this person who is very mindful of her health, does good things to keep herself healthy, and as a result is more or less healthy. Right now that feels like a far off goal, but I think the more that I am constantly following through, putting on that alter ego, it'll become more of my actual reality. Secret number 3 in reinventing, rebranding your life is to step out of your comfort zone. And I hate being told that so much. I like my comfort zone. I like my little box, but I know it definitely limits what I can do with my life. And so I acknowledge, while I might not like it, stepping out of my comfort zone is something that I need to do. I think a lot of people make the mistake of they set a goal, but then they just, again, going back to just these surface level changes. They buy a notebook to write down their goals, they do up a vision board, but they're not stepping out of their comfort zone and actually taking action to make things happen. I'm gonna push back a little bit on some of the advice that James Clear gives in his book, Atomic Habits. Atomic meaning small. So he's definitely an advocate for putting in small, different little habits here and there that are minimally disruptive to your life. But in this specific case where we're wanting to make significant change, I really think that those atomic habits, they can be helpful, but I don't think that they're going to be the key to realizing that substantial change that we're looking for in this case. The truth is, if you want to change your life, you need to step out of your comfort zone. You're making a change, you're doing something different. All of those things are uncomfortable and therefore out of your comfort zone. And this is where the confidence paradox comes into play as well. You're not going to feel confident initially. You just need to do the thing, whatever it is. Confidence will come later. I think a lot of people wait and wait and wait until they feel confident in order to make a move, do something. they're going to be waiting forever, because that confidence is not going to come. The confidence comes from going through an experience, getting that experience, realizing you can handle it, and having just that proof that you got this. That gives you confidence. It's not waiting for it beforehand to just magically show up. And I think there is something to be said about just like a shock factor. If you're really, really wanting to make a change, I think you could do something like changing a job, moving to a different town, like something big like that is often required if you're wanting to really reinvent yourself and not just stick with those surface level changes that are just, again, kind of paint on that rusty old car that we talked about earlier. Secret number 4 is all about keystone habits. So I think a lot of people, if they're in this mode of wanting to do some sort of reinvention, they kind of go into overhaul mode. They want to change everything. They want to start a YouTube channel, change their jobs, do some kind of crazy fitness challenge, and just they spread themselves so thin. They're overhauling everything, and I feel like that's a recipe for everything either not working at all or just falling apart. I think if you want to avoid that, you need to find what's called a keystone habit. A keystone habit is from the author Charles Duhigg, and he actually talked about this keystone habit that kind of acts as a domino, in that if you have this habit consistent and nailed down, it makes everything else that you want to change easier. I think for me personally, one of my keystone habits is nailing down my sleep, because if I'm not sleeping well, if I am unrested, unrecovered, and just tired, everything in my life feels hard regardless of what I'm trying to do. So I know that if I am very consistent and strict with my sleep, make sure I'm getting 7 to 8 hours a night consistently at more or less the same time every day, like all those things, that makes my life so much easier. And it makes change, while the change might still be difficult, it makes that change easier than it would be if I didn't have that keystone habit in place. Ask yourself, what could be your keystone habit? For you, it might also be sleep, or it might be eating better. You know, when you eat better, you feel better, can do better. Like, what is that one thing that, regardless of what you're trying to pursue in your life, it's just gonna make everything feel just a little bit easier? Lastly, I want you to consider what you can remove from your life as you are aiming for this reinvention. I think all of us think about what we can add, like these elaborate morning routines, these books we have to read, these meditation practices, cold plunges, this wacky diet, like all this stuff we feel like we need to add to be self-improved. But I want you to ask yourself, what do I need to remove? What old beliefs, old habits, just things in your physical environment, what can you remove from your life so that you're free to move forward with this new reinvented version of yourself? And as we wrap up, just as a reminder, the 4 secrets to reinventing your life is to focus on who you are becoming rather than what you are doing, and avoiding those busy work things that I think we do when we're trying to set goals. I want you to shed your old identity that is no longer in line with who your reinvented self is going to be, and is instead trying to adopt your new alter ego. I want you to step out of your comfort zone, push into the uncomfortable, and try and do a little jumping before you feel confident. And lastly, I want you to start thinking about what sort of keystone habits you can adopt to make this reinvention process just a little bit more easier on yourself. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe, and we will see you next week. Bye.